Hey, what's up guys? It's CovertCode here, and in today's video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a hunger bar slash system. Now, I've already made a health bar tutorial, I've already made a stamina bar tutorial, so naturally, this came next. Now, we're going to be splitting this tutorial up into 3 parts, okay? We're going to be designing the GUI, the actual hunger bar. We're going to be actually making a tool like an apple or something which you can actually consume to fill up your hunger bar, and we're also going to be scripting the server end of this entire system. So don't get confused, stick around, I'm going to explain every single part of this system. The first thing we're going to do is actually design the hunger bar. Now, if you cannot see the Explorer tab, Properties tab, and the Insert Objects tab, just go to View and just click on Explorer and Properties up here, and also go to Model and click on Insert Object, just so you can see the tabs that I have open. Now, we're going to just actually insert a Screen Gui, which is a sort of container for the GUI elements. Now, if you do not know what that is, I'll actually show you right now. So, on Starter GUI, okay? Double tap on Screen GUI or just search that up. Hold this hunger, and let's insert a frame inside of our starter GUI. Remember, the starter GUI is a container for any UI object you have. So the frame here is our UI object in this case. And we're just going to change the size here to 0.1, 0.10, okay guys? That just basically shifts the size mode, I guess, from offset to scale. And scale just makes sure that your UI objects are the same consistent size across all devices. So as you guys can see, when I cycle through the devices, it's like being sized relative to the screen size. Just if you don't have to know what it does, just always use scale, okay? It's way better for your games. Now, let's reset the border size pixel to 0, and let's actually resize this to the size that we want our hunger bar to be. So I'm just going to resize it to this much. You can make it smaller, larger, up to you guys. I'm just going to leave it at this, okay? Now, I'm actually going to insert a UI corner object inside of the frame. UI corner, okay? And that just rounds your corners. It makes them look nice, sleek, makes it look better in general, in my opinion. And again, change the offset, put that at 0, and let's actually use scale, make this 0.2 or something, okay? Now, let's rename this to bar, and let's insert a gradient inside of the bar. So, UI gradient. Now, change the color here by actually clicking on the numbers here, and clicking on these 3 dots. Now, let's just click on this triangle here, and click on this box, and lower this. We're just gonna make it slightly darker at the end, pretty much, okay? And now we're just gonna rotate this by 90 degrees. Okay. Oh no, not 90 transparency, guys. My bad. 90 degrees rotation wise. Okay. Now, as you can see, it flipped the gradient. So currently it's like this, and we just flipped it around to be like this. Okay. So let's just flip that again. There we go. Now let's actually change the color of this. Something orangey will work for the hunger bar. Something like that is fine, okay? Okay, so copy, actually just click on this, copy, and right click again, paste into, okay? Go to the size and set it to 1010, and position 0000. So essentially, we're just taking up the entire container here, okay? Let me just illustrate what we've done. Let me just make this darker slightly, so you guys can actually, lighter, so you guys can actually see what I did. So let me just resize this. Essentially, we just took up the entire containers, like, this is the parent, okay? We took up the entire size of that parent. So essentially, you just have a bar here, okay? And that's just filling up the parent size. I might have explained that horribly, I'm sorry. But just make sure the size is, 1, 0, 1, 0. Okay? Now, position should also be 0, 0, 0, 0. If I change the position, it's not going to look nice. You don't want your GUI to look like this. You want it to look like this. Okay? Final thing we have to do to design this is actually insert a text label. A text label is just a piece of text. Okay, so set the background transparency to 1, size to 1010. Text again, let's just call this hunger, and text scaled. Change the font to any font you guys want. I'm just gonna set this to Gotham Black. Gotham Black's nice. Change the text color to any text color you guys want. I'm just gonna go with white, and I'm just gonna change the text stroke transparency to, I don't know, 0.7. That looks nice. And I'm just gonna resize this on the y-axis. Okay, just bring that down, then just shrink it down slightly more on the x-axis, okay, and just center this. See these like yellow dotted lines? When those line up, like when those show up both for the x and y-axis, then you know it's centered. Okay, so just leave it there, and there you go. That's your hunger bar. Now let's actually work on the server end. Okay, so insert a script inside of server script service. Call this hunger service. Okay, and now all we're gonna do is define a few variables. If you don't know what variables are, I have a video on variables, so just go check that out and then come back to this. Okay, so local decrease frequency is equal to a number. So I'm just gonna set this to 1. So this is how much hunger we're going to decrease. Okay, now local decrease, actually my bad, frequency in our case is how frequently, actually let me just do the while loop, okay, because it'll make much more sense then. Okay, so just ignore I actually made that. Okay, I'll reference that again soon, but first we're going to add a sort of an event. So whenever someone joins, we need to create a hunger value inside of the player. Okay, so game.players.playerAdded connect function player. Okay, so all this is doing is whenever a player joins your game, is going to run this code. Okay, that's what all this means. Now, this is the actual player object. So the player object is just click play. I'll show you what that is right now. So this is the player object. In my case, it's CovertCode. If someone else joins, for example, Builderman, then Builderman will be the player object in this case. Okay. Now let's create a value, as I said, inside of the player. So local hunger is equal to instance.new int value, and let's just put this inside of the player. Okay, so if I just click play, you can see that we actually created a value inside of the player object that I explained to you guys. So this is the value that we created. Okay, so let's just rename this to hunger. So hunger.name is equal to hunger. Okay, now it's no longer going to be called value like we saw. It's going to be called hunger. Now hunger.value is equal to 100. Okay, so pretty much this is the max value. So how much hunger you will have in total, okay, in general. Now before we do our while loop, we need to do something else. So whenever you die, we want this hunger value to reset. We don't want you to die at 0 hunger and then, like, you know, you sort of spawn in back again with 0 hunger, right? That wouldn't make sense. We need to just make this reset every time your character dies, essentially. Okay, so player.character added connect function, and hunger.value is equal to 100. Okay, so this just resets every time your character respawns. Okay, that's what this does. Now, the while loop. So if you don't know what loops are, again, I have a video on loops, so just go check that out, come back, and you'll understand what I'm about to do. Now this is where that decrease frequency variable comes in. Okay, so local decrease frequency, this is a fail. Okay, frequency is equal to 1. So while wait decrease frequency 2. Okay, so every 1 second it's gonna run the code in here. Okay, it's going to wait this amount in seconds. It's gonna run the code and it's gonna do that again. Okay, and all we want to do here is we want to decrease the hunger value. Okay, so hunger dot value minus equals decrease amount. Now we haven't declared this variable yet, that's why it's underlined. So let me just declare that. So local decrease amount is equal to, let's decrease their hunger by 2. So what this does is every 1 second we're just gonna decrease their hunger by 2. Okay, that's all that does. So now let's actually code the client side. So insert a local script inside of the hunger GUI that we designed earlier, okay? And let's call this hunger client, okay? Now, erase everything in the script and let's declare some more variables. So local player is equal to game.players.localPlayer. So this is your player, okay? So if I joined and my username is CovertCode, this will always point to CovertCode in my case. If you joined, it will point to your player object. So if your name is again Builderman, this will reference Builderman, okay? So play, again, remember that player object I mentioned earlier? That's the one, okay? This is the local player in my case because I am CovertCode, okay? That's all that does. So, local hunger is equal to player wait for child hunger, okay? So remember we created a value inside of the player in this script right here, okay? And we call that hunger. So what we're doing here is we're waiting for hunger to exist, okay? We're waiting for something inside of the player called hunger to exist, okay? So this will essentially pause the script until we find hunger, okay? So last 3 variables, guys. So local GUI, that was bad. Local GUI is equal to script.parent. So this is the script and this is the parent right here, parent object hunger, okay? So that's the GUI. Now, local bar exterior, okay, is equal to GUI.bar. So this is the GUI, okay, and this is the bar, GUI.bar, okay? Now, we also have a bar interior, that's the actual object that we're going to be working with. So bar interior is equal to bar exterior.bar. Slightly confusing because I use the same name. Don't get confused, okay? This is bar exterior, okay? And this is bar interior because GUI, this is the GUI, dot bar is bar exterior, okay? And then dot bar again, which is this, okay? Now, what we're going to do is whenever the hunger value changes, so if I have 100 hunger and it goes down to 98, then we're gonna run a function, okay? Again, I have a video on functions. If you don't know what those are, go watch that and come back so you guys can actually understand what's going on. So hunger.changed, connect function, update hunger. This is the function, call function, okay? This is the function that we're gonna call. So local function, update hunger, and update the hunger. So whenever the hunger value changes, okay, it'll change, that what that means. Whenever that changes, then we're gonna update the hunger by calling this function, okay? So, actually, whenever you join, we also want to update your hunger, just for completeness sake, okay? But in the actual function, what's gonna go down is we're going to have the local current value, so that's another variable, okay? It's gonna be hunger.value. So this way we just capture the value and it will be easier for us to read and work with. So if you have 98 hunger, this is the 98 here, okay? I'm just storing that instead of current value. Now, we're gonna have a formula, okay? Let me just write this down, then I'll explain what this means. So local formula is equal to math.clamp, okay? Current value divided by 100, 0, 100. So, math. I know it's scary, but don't worry about it. So math.clamp essentially Actually, let me start from this value. So this value here, this is the 98 we were talking about. And we're just dividing that by 100, okay? Because 100 is the maximum value that we can have. So if you don't get what that means, or if you're confused, just know that we're just dividing that by 100, okay? So this is now 0.98, okay? Now, mat.clamp is essentially making sure that this value is restricted to these two extremes, okay? So the minimum value that we can actually retrieve here is 0, and the maximum value that we can actually retrieve from this is 100. Now, we don't really need 100. We can use 1, okay? Because it will not go up to 100, because we're dividing that by 100, okay? So, the reason we're restricting this, because it wouldn't make sense if you had more than, less than 0 hunger. Like, what does that even mean? You know, you can't have less than 0 hunger, okay? Now, we actually need to act with or on this information, okay? We actually need to resize the bar. So, bar interior, okay, so it's this object here. We want to make it essentially do this. Okay, go up and down. So the way we do that is tweening. So tween size, let me just write this down and then I'll explain, okay? udem2.new formula 010 nm.easing direction.out nm.easing style.linear 0.15 and true, okay? That is a lot to take in, but let me just dissect this. So, udem2 is just essentially the unit of measurement for GUI sizes. So, as you guys can see, the size of the GUI is split up into two sort of values, the X and Y. So this is the X, this is the Y, and the reason we have two values for the X and Y is because they're also split up into two more. So we have scale and offset. So what we're doing here basically is setting the scale using these two values and setting the offset to 0, okay? Pretty much, that's what we're doing. Now, easing direction and easing style, I'll bring some of those up on the screen now. You know, they're just default Roblox, you know, easing directions and styles. But essentially what they mean is, this is the way that the animation will act. Like, it will actually manipulate the way that the animation sort of acts based on this easing direction, you know? And easing style is sort of the animation style, you could say, that this tween will have. This could be bounce, for example, you know? Let me just actually check if this works real quick, and I'll show you the, like, one different sort of easing style so you guys can actually understand what that is. So as you guys can see, my hunger is decreasing now, okay? But now if I change this to bounce, okay, and play again, just wait for this. Sort of going to bounce a bit. Now it's not really visible because, you know, the time we set is very short. It's 0.15. Let me just set this to 0.8 so you guys can see. But wait. Okay, it's very minuscule. Okay, but as you guys can see, it sort of goes back and bounces a bit, goes back, bounces a bit. Okay, that's the bounce animation style. Okay, you could like, it's up to you which style you want to use, but I prefer using linear and out for the direction and style. Okay, now we've essentially finished on the client end. We just need to do one more thing on the server end, and we just need to do something slightly different than both of these. Okay, so one thing we haven't really accounted for here is if the hunger value is 0, we want to like kill the character, right? We want to kill the player. So if hunger.value is less than or equal to 0, then it's going to player.character break joints. Okay, so break joints essentially will kill you. Okay, so like if you want to break something, this is what you'd use. So we're just breaking the character's the character apart essentially. Okay, so yeah, now hunger.value will still be decreasing, okay? So let me just do an else here. Again, if you don't know what if conditions are, I have a video on those as well, okay? So, if the hunger value is less than or equal to 0, we'll kill the player, else we'll continue decreasing the amount, okay? Now let me just close these two up, and we're just gonna script a tool. Now, let's just use any food type you want. So let's just insert an apple or something, create a tool inside of workspace, call this apple, okay? Use this apple mesh, drag that inside of the apple tool you just created. Make sure there's nothing inside here except the mesh, okay? Make sure this is called handle. It's of paramount importance that it's actually called handle, okay? Just make sure that this part is a handle, and make sure that anchored is off and can collide is on, okay? That's all we need to do to make this apple tool. Now, insert a local script inside of the apple, call this food handler, okay? Now, we're just going to declare a variable here called, I don't know, eaten, okay? So local eaten is equal to false. So this means that it has not been eaten yet, okay? So script.parent.activated connect function. So whenever someone is holding out the tool and they click, then that means that the player is going to eat the food, okay? So eaten is equal to true, okay? But beforehand, we want to check if someone actually ate this before. So if eaten, then return. So if it has been eaten, then we cannot use this, okay? So we're just going to go back. That's what this return means. It's not going to allow us to run the code underneath, okay? So eaten is equal to true. And we're just going to wait 1 second, and then we're just going to destroy the apple, okay? As well as invoke a remote event. So game.replicated storage eat fire server. Now, what remote events are, essentially we're just sending a signal to the server to do something. Okay, that's pretty much it. We just insert a remote event inside of replicated storage and call this eat. Okay, we're just gonna send a signal to the server through this remote event. Now, in here, we're just gonna say game.replicatedStorage.eat connect, .onServer event connect function player. Okay, so whenever someone invokes this server event, this remote event, we're just gonna run whatever is inside here. So run whatever is inside of here. Okay, and this is the player that actually invoked this event. Okay, so by invoked, I mean fired this event, okay? So if I ate this apple, then player will be CovertCode, okay? Whoever eats the object will be the player in this case. Now, simple thing over here, all we're gonna do is player.hunger.value plus equals increase amount, okay? Again, final variable, local increase amount is equal to, let's say, 8, okay? So whenever you eat something, this is how much hunger we're gonna add, pretty much, okay? And I should probably clamp this as well, but I'll just leave that at that. So let me just upload that, and let's test this out. Actually, let me just clone this a bit. That way, we have decent sort of testing feel, I guess. I'm just copying and pasting at this point, guys, so don't get confused or anything like that. Now let's just click play and let's see what happens. So everything should function. We'll see. So hunger is going down, no errors, that's good. Okay, I'm getting slightly hungry here, guys, so let me just pick up an apple, click on this, and as you guys can see, my hunger went back up. Okay, so click on that again, hunger goes back up. Now if you want to slow down the rate at which hunger goes down, stop, go to the hunger surface and just increase this. So every 4 seconds, hunger decreases, essentially. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. That's how you make a hunger bar / system. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave suggestions in the comments down below about what videos I should be making next, and I'll see you guys next time.